We ended off last class by writing this little bit of code in processing, and right now we are writing this stuff down. And I'm going to go ahead and do it myself. I don't even have... And if it tells you if it tells you that there's a new version of processing available, do not download it. We've used it this way for so long, and let's just keep using this version for now. So I see a question over here. You're extracting the file you did last time. Okay, that sounds good, Josiah. You shouldn't have to extract it. You should literally just be able to open it. You shouldn't have to do any extracting. Unless you saved it as a zip file for some reason, but I don't think you did. So we're writing this down and we're raising our hand once we've finished. And if anyone has finished and wants to let me know what they see, that would be awesome. I do have it written myself and I know what to expect, but I like to be interactive, so... If you're getting errors, make sure you got your semicolons, make sure you got your brackets, make sure you got your uppercase and lowercase correct. And Tyler's got it right, what you should be seeing. I'll just give y'all a little bit more time to write this down. It's nothing too fun right now. Yep. Andrew got that one right as well. And what's your question, Josiah? Do you want this one? What do you mean? Do you want us to do what it says on the slide? Oh, yes, please. I would like for you to do that. I would like for you to change the x and y to 50, not to 0. And if you're having some issues with the color code, you can change that to whatever you'd like. Just remember how to do that. As long as you remember how to do that, you can definitely do it. Oh, yeah, that's something I told. We're gonna get to that in just a second, Josiah. Yeah, we are gonna do that in just a second. So keep that in your code. Don't delete it. But yes, we are going to. So again, y'all, writing this down, raising our hands once we're done. I literally cannot tell if you're done or not if you don't raise your hand. Even if you prefer to tell me that you're done, I really prefer you raise your hand just so I can see a little bit easier. It just helps me out. Now with the 50s, okay. Yeah, and that's what you should be seeing, Andrew, so. I'm going to give y'all about 2 to 3 more minutes, and I will send the code that I have here if you don't have it ready yet. Alright, Josiah. It's just going to be a good day. It's an omen, a good omen. So I have, what, 11 here? And I have 5 people that are done. 6 people that are done, alright. So, Hannah's got what we're seeing here. Alright. Does anybody need this code before I go to the next slide? And by that I mean you can say this in the questions pane at this point. I'll send it to you directly. Alright. Oops. You're good? Okay. And I can always give this to you if you need it. So you should be seeing something that looks like this. It's not very interesting. You might have changed the colors, but ultimately it's going to be a solid background screen and a circle that is almost all the way off the screen. So that's really boring. There's nothing really there, right? But we're going to add some stuff to it to make it more interactive. Specifically, what we're going to start by is within our void draw loop, we're going to add a couple of if statements. So underneath, where we've got the background fill in ellipse commands, we're going to add if the key is equal to s. Remember to keep your double equal signs. And one single apostrophe here. If key equals s, y pos plus plus. Underneath that, if key equals w, y pos minus minus. What this code is going to do, I want you to write this and then run it. It's going to let you move your ellipse up and down. Or actually, yeah, up and down. When you press the S key, it'll go up. When you press, it'll go down. When you press the W key, it'll go up. So I do see a question here. Is there a way to make it go faster? You bet you there is. We're going to go over that later. Maybe not today, but definitely next class we'll go over it. Depends on how far we get. Well, I mean, there's a couple different answers to that question. The way we're going to do it later is a little bit more high level. But if you wanted to make it go faster, what you could do now is instead of doing ypos plus plus, you can do ypos equals ypos plus 10 or something. So everyone else keep writing this down right now. If you wanted to make it go faster, hang on, cat, please stop biting paper. So keep writing what you see on the slide itself down, but if you're interested in making it go a little bit faster, you could write this, Josiah. Instead of ypos plus plus, you can write that. Or you can make the number bigger than 10. You can make it 100 or something. It'll go a lot faster, though. But for the most part, we're just going to keep it pretty standard here so that we can all be on the same page. So I'm going to put your hands down. Please raise your hand once you've gotten this in. And if you feel clever, I want you to go ahead and work ahead. See if you can do the same thing for the x-axis. See if we can make the circle go right when we hit the D key. Let's see if we can make it go left when we hit the A key. So that's only if you finished. But think about it given what you see on your screen right now. Remember the troubleshooting stuff if something's not working. Usually the issue is going to be a semicolon, a bracket, a misspelling of something, or a missing case, so caps or uppercase or lowercase. So just double check that if your code's not working for some reason. You're going to raise your hand once you've finished. Alright, sounds good, Elijah. And you'll notice something funky about this code. Does anybody see how it's acting a little bit unexpectedly? Or it's acting like expected, but what is it when you run it? Something's acting weird. It is pretty fun. That shouldn't be weird in engineering, because everything is fun. sorry. You'll notice that when you run it, as soon as you hit one of these keys, you only have to click it once and it's going to keep going on forever. It's going to click on once, it's going to keep going up. Click on down, it's going to keep going down. It's not responding to, or it's not stopping after it starts going, basically. So, yeah, Hannah, let's take a look at your code real quick. And I know you knew the answer, Josiah, because I already told you that the other day. So, int void setups. You have an extra bracket before the if key equals a statement, Hannah. And I think you're one bracket short at the very end of your code. So does anybody not have this written down? Does anybody not see the circle going up and down based on which of the keys you press? Anybody not seeing that? Alright. Whoops, hang on, I see a question. That one's part of your void draw loop. Yeah, you want to be drawing or writing this within your void draw loop. Your if statements are inside your void draw. And yes, I can send you the code I have right now. Yours says it's wrong when you fix it. So for Josiah, let's see. Huh, because that does look right. Compare your code to the code I'm going to give you in just a second. Alright, Josiah. So we're going to add the A and D to the code. It's going to be right directly underneath the other if statements. So within the void draw loop, we're going to be adding this. We're going to add an if statement checking if the A key is pressed, which will change the X position by -1. If the D is pressed, we're going to change the X position by +1. And can I send you the code? You're a little late? Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. You put D first instead of A with the plus and minus sign switch around. Is that okay? Yeah, definitely. Usually, the order you put stuff in, or sometimes, very dependently, the stuff you put in a certain order doesn't matter. In this case, if you were to switch this whole if statement with this if statement, you'll be fine. It still won't let you open it? Oh, that's weird. Yeah, I'll definitely. Huh. How bizarre. No problem. Really not in too big of a hurry at right now though, so no big deal. So if you get this code running, you will have a circle that goes wherever you want it to, which is still not very fun. We're gonna make it more fun. Well, hopefully. Well, not hopefully. It will be more fun, but now that me and Mr. DeToy are switching off on our classes, it depends on how far he gets to how far I get. So in his case, he got through slide 13. If we get to slide 13 a little bit early, I might stop a little bit early. I'm doing my best, or we're doing our best to keep our classes in line with each other so that you are able to go to either class and get the same information. So it really just depends on a lot of different things. But there's a lot of folks here today, so I think we'll be good getting to slide 13. So I'm going to put hands down because I forgot to tell you once you're done with this to raise your hand. I just want to see where we're at here. Again, we're not really in any hurry or anything. I just want to see where we're at. I'll give you about a minute or two to do that. So while y'all are finishing up, I just noticed that there is a new Raspberry Pi out. So if y'all have done classes with us before, there's a new one, the Raspberry Pi 3. It comes built in with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, which is pretty nice. It's a 64-bit processor instead of 32-bit, so it's closer to the computer you're probably on right now. And it's still the same price. $35. So it's a little bit off topic, but a Raspberry Pi is a computer that can fit in your palm, minus the monitor and the mouse and the keyboard, but basically it does everything in this tiny little package. So let me check on. Okay, I'm gonna continue. If you need the code, I will give it to you. But let's take a look real quick. I haven't actually seen what it looks like yet, so it looks just like the old one. Surprise. But it's just a little bit more powerful than the old one. So if you are going to be taking summer camps with us, hopefully we'll be getting one of these out to you. And happy leap year to you too. So I just wanted to show you real quick what it looked like. Pretty cool stuff here, and we will probably be creating a curriculum to work with that, either over the summer or starting next fall. So let's go ahead and continue. So with this next slide, we're going to do something a little bit weird. All of these if statements we just did, we're going to highlight them, and we're going to hit on our keyboards Control X if you are on a PC, and Command X if you are on a Mac. There's a reason we're doing this. You're just going to highlight from the first if statement down to the second to last bracket. And Control X for PC, Command X for Mac. So again, we're going to click our mouse and hold down until all of this stuff is highlighted. But we're not highlighting this last bracket here. Everything starting at the first if statement all the way down. Because we're going to be doing something a little bit weird here. There's a reason I'm having you do this. It's going to disappear, or all of this stuff here is going to disappear, but don't worry, you still have it. It's on your clipboard. So we're going to introduce a new programming concept here. Well, before I go on, anybody having issues doing this? Anybody want me to show them how to do this? I think we did it earlier this year, but... So again, we're just going to highlight everything except for this everything starting at the if statement all the way down, and Control or Command X. It's going to delete everything, but don't worry, you didn't just delete it all. Alright, nobody has any qualms with that. It should all disappear, because we're cutting it. We're going to paste it later. As long as you don't copy and paste anything in the next couple seconds here, which you shouldn't, you'll be fine. So where we just deleted all that stuff, we're going to type this in right here. It's going to look weird. It's going to look sort of like a function, but it's not a function. We're going to type in move, open and close parentheses, semicolon. And don't try to run it after you do this. I mean, I guess you could, but not much is going to happen. We're just going to add this right here. Does anybody with programming experience know, or specifically Java programming experience, know what this is? If not, it's okay. I don't think I've gone over this in any of the programming classes. And it says it doesn't exist yet. If you try to run this, nothing good's going to happen. It's going to say, I guess it doesn't exist. And it's because we haven't defined it yet, but it's kind of weird, huh? So what is this thing? What is it? Glad you asked. Again, do not copy and paste anything. You want to keep everything on your keyboard. Sorry, everything on your clipboard. Underneath this void draw loop, after this last bracket, we're going to add this into it. Void move, open close parenthesis, open close bracket. This should look very familiar. What does this look like? I'll let you write it down first, but think about what this bit that we're writing here looks like. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and write it myself. I see a good answer already. Well done. I'll go over it in just a second. Just give me 1 second to write it down myself. Yep. Y'all are seeing a pattern here. This void move looks just like our void draw or our void setup loops. Or not loops, but void setup functions. But what you'll notice is, even though it still has the void and then a word, unlike with void setup and void draw, void move doesn't turn this blue here. It's not blue, right? It should be black. Well, that's weird, isn't it? No, not really. When we do this void and then name it whatever, what we're doing is defining our own function. So void setup and void draw are functions that are inherent to the software. So we're always going to be setting up in processing, and we're always going to be using this void draw loop in processing. Void draw function, rather. So remember, the void setup runs once, the void draw runs forever in a loop. The void move is a little bit different here. It's similar to void setup in that it's not going to run forever necessarily, but I'll go over specifically how it works in a second here. But it is a function. It's just not a function that processing immediately understands. We actually have to add some stuff into it for the program to understand. So what if I changed the word move to void corn dog? Would the program understand it? Seeing a couple mixed answers here. I got some no's, I got some yeses. The program would understand it, and I can actually show you this. Sort of. I don't know if it's going to work, but let's take a look. Let's change the move function up here to be corn dog, and the move down here to be corn dog. I'm only doing this, you don't have to do it yourself. My program's running just fine. It's not giving me any errors, right? We can name the function whatever we want it to, as long as we call it successfully later on. So don't worry about what it's called. We're just using move because it's going to end up moving stuff for us. So we can name this whatever we want, just like we can name our integers whatever we want. So inside this void move function, in between these brackets, we're going to paste the code that we just cut. So remember, just click in between the brackets, Control V for a PC, Command V for a Mac. Yeah, it's pretty easy, wasn't it? Now, let's think about it for just a minute here. Why wouldn't we just keep the if statements within the void draw loop? Why are we specifically putting it in its own function? Any ideas? Because we could just keep it in the loop and it would work just fine. Why would we want to call a function? I think it's a trick question, sort of. I don't expect any of you to know it. What if your program was a lot more complicated than this? What if you had, hundreds and thousands of lines of code? What if two different portions of these thousands of lines of code use these same if statements? Would we want to write these if statements twice? No. We would not want to write these if statements twice. By creating a function like this, if we need to use the same set of commands more than once in our code, we can use fewer lines and therefore less processing power than just writing these if statements twice. So the reason we use functions is to make our code cleaner for code that we repeat more than once. So that's why we use functions. So instead of writing that, how many lines is it, like 18 lines of if statements? We can do it once and apply it to many different places. And I didn't expect you to know that. It's sort of if I were grading you before I taught you functions, I would expect to see multiple. I'll stop talking. Anyways, that's why we do that. Alright, so there we go. Now every time your code sees this, we call the function, whatever's in here applies right here. It's nothing too wild here. Jumps to here and does whatever is in the function. And alright. The next thing what we're going to do is add a really, really big if statement. It's very, very important that you get all of your cases right. So all your caps right. We're going to be making a game over screen. And just for the record, this is where Mr. DeToy left off. So we might be ending up a little bit early today. So go ahead, write this in. Make sure you get your greater than or less than symbols right. And I'll talk about it in just a second. And I'm going to write it myself. You're going to write this down underneath your move, within the void draw function, underneath the move function that you called. So those two long straight lines, if you hold down your shift key, it's the button directly underneath the backspace button. Oops, I did not see the question there. Is this a new if statement? Yes, it's going to be a brand new if statement within the void draw loop. Sorry, I didn't see your question. I was busy writing my own code here, sorry. I'm still here if you have any questions, so don't freak out if you don't hear me talking. I'm still here. While I've got you captive, the Charlotte Thursday class has lab this coming Thursday at the usual time. I'll remind you again on Wednesday about that. If you've got it written, you can definitely run it. The thing after width, again, the button immediately after backspace, or sorry, immediately underneath backspace, if you hold shift and then that button, you'll get this long skinny line here. And if you need, I'll also even send it privately to you so you can find it, or if you can't find it. So yeah, you can definitely run it if you'd like. You were thinking of the same game idea before we started scripted? What do you mean? Oh, scripting. Ah. I mean, it's not a very fun game right now. Once you finally run it, you'll see it's really not that interesting yet. We'll work some more with it after today, but right now it's not going to be that interesting. Nothing is happening? Alright, I actually haven't run this code yet, so let me see if I did something wrong. What is it telling me to do here? What's it getting mad at me for? Ah, there we go. There's that. Give me 1 second, y'all. Alright, so I'm seeing some problems here. You're saying only the circle and the background are there. And that is exactly what you should be seeing. Only the circle and the background. You should be able to control the circle. But I want you to run your circle into a wall and see what happens. So, what was your question, Josiah? Oh, you forgot after the x pos is less than 0, you forgot to add y pos is greater than height. You're not able to control your circle. Alright, Hannah, send me your code. And Josiah, you just forgot this part right here, this y pos. Oops, I had my thing on pause. This is right here where you're missing. It works now? Alright. It says the void right before move is an invalid token. Alright. Make sure that you have added your void move after this void draw function here. Did you do that? You made sure that you closed this function before you moved on to the void move? Nothing happens when you run into a wall, it just keeps going. Make sure that you run it like really into the wall. Like, it's not going to do something when it hits the wall, it's going to stop, it's going to do something when the center of it hits the wall. So, Andrew, go ahead and send me your code real quick. And if that still doesn't work, Hannah, send me your code as well. Alright, so let's take a look at Hannah's code first. I'm guessing it's something to do, okay. Void draw, move. You missed one of your arguments, Hannah. You missed the argument that says y pos is greater than height. That's one thing I see. Let's see if I see anything else. Other than that, it looks right. That's the most boring game ever. I'll agree with you, it's not a very fun game yet. We're still going to work with it, don't worry. When it says game over, you turn the other way and survive. I actually didn't know that. That's actually kind of cool. So let's take a look. You're starting at the void draw loop. So Andrew. You should have 2 close brackets after your text game over. So after that line that says text game over 400, 500, add an extra close bracket. Because right now your code thinks it's still within the void draw loop. So I'm going to go just a smidge ahead of where Mr. DeToy finished off, just because I think these next 2 slides are explanation for what's happening with this if statement here. And I'll definitely go back if you need it. For some reason the circle won't move now. I guess send me your new code. While you're doing that, I'll explain what's going on. So keep in mind that the width and the height that we're using my goodness, I'm having so many questions right now all at once. Hang on. For some reason the circle won't move at all now. Go ahead, restart it. Rerun it. You can't even play it. It kills you as soon as you open it. I don't see anything wrong with your code, Andrew. So before I run it, I might have... Alright, before I address this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over what it does, and I'll address the issues that you're having, just so those that don't have any issues can go. So we're getting this width and the height from the size that we defined. So remember, the size starts with the width when you define it, and then the height. So that's all that is. That's why it turns red, because it's something that is contained within earlier pieces of the code. So what this if statement is doing is it's saying if either x position is greater than width, or x position less than 0, or y position is greater than height, or y position less than 0, if any single one of these things is satisfied. It only has to be one. Then this code will run. This background, text size, game over stuff. Only one of these things has to be proven true for a game over. Okay? So that said, if you have your code running successfully, you can go. If you don't, I'm going to keep you for a couple minutes and have you send some code over. So the first code I was looking at was Andrew's. So I'm going to re-look at yours because I did not see anything wrong when I looked at it at first. So you got move. I'm not seeing any issues with it, which means I'm going to run it. Are you sure? It looks like it's running. Yeah, yours looks fine, Andrew. I don't know what's going on. Now let's see if there's anyone else that had issues. It might just be your keyboard. It might be sticking or something. Yeah, you are good to go if your code is working okay. So what it should be looking like is this right here. So you can control it left, right, up, and down. When you run it into the wall, game over. That's what you should be seeing. So let's take a look at your code, Hannah. Try changing your Y pos and X pos to be 50 instead of 0. So take care, Josiah. One of the cats at the key cup and spilled tea all over it. Yeah, that could happen. Keyboards get messed up pretty easily if something like that happens. But yeah, your code's working great. So yeah, I'm just going to suggest, Hannah, that you change Y pos and X pos within your void setup loop to be 50. Yeah, no problem, Andrew. Talk to you Wednesday.